Good evening and welcome to tonight's March 18th Financial Board meeting. Please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Craig, will you lead us? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Thank you, Craig. I call this meeting to order. There are a few agenda adjustments that I have for the agenda. So first of all, I'd like to move the auditor's report under new business A. I would actually like to move that right after we elect a board chair. That way we don't have to keep them here the entire time. We also have, I would like to discuss, it would be I under new business. It will be a staff course approval that is not, it's not loaded into the folders, but I can discuss that then. So it's a staff course approval. And I have two matters that we'll need to discuss tonight in non-public for reputation. Are there any other adjustments? Okay, great. So moving on to the date of the next meeting is Monday, April 7th. That's our academic meeting here at 6 o'clock. And next, our review and approval of the minutes from March 3rd.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of March 3rd.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Minutes are approved. Public comments.
We should
Oh,
address
so-
the vote.
All in favor of accepting the minutes from March 3rd?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion approved. Thanks, Tim. No public here. Is there a public online? Nope. No. Doesn't look it. Okay, so under number 2, electing a board chair and a vice chair. Do we have any motions on the table?
I would like to nominate Mitch as the chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Mitch, congratulations. Would we like any motions on the table for a vice chair?
By all means.
No, go ahead.
I'd like to nominate Alan vice chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Mitch and Ellen. At this point, I will hand the meeting over to Mr. Mitch Gluck, the new school board chair. So we do have the auditors first.
I'd like to make a comment before we move to the auditor, brief comment. I just want to say publicly thanks to Steve Spratt for his leadership as the board chair. What I can say is that I felt his leadership brought compassion, his focus always on the welfare of the students, the children of New Ipswich, and the families. And besides having a vast kind of institutional knowledge, he provided a lot of guidance and support to the district and to the mission of what we're trying to accomplish. And so I just want to publicly say thank you for his contributions as a leader.
Sure. So we have our district auditor here from Vashon and Cloquet, Mr. Matthew Murray, and he's going to present the fiscal year 2024 audit for us. Matthew?
All right. So, Matthew Murray, I'm one of the partners at Vashon Cloquet and Company. So for us, this represented a first year audit, and kind of one of the things to make you guys aware of is that when it's a first year audit, like it ends up taking a little bit longer than normal because there are certain things that your predecessor auditor has a complete understanding of your internal control environment. And when with us coming in, and obviously in this situation, there was also when we had started to commence the audit, there was a changeover in the business administrator position. So you guys did have Elizabeth Gregory before, and now it's Rachel Anderson. So as far as for the district, we expressed an unmodified opinion on your financial statements. And what that means is that there were no material misstatements within the audited financial statements, and all the required disclosures under GAAP were presented. As far as one of the things you will see is we did have certain restatements, which are actually detailed further. Give me 1 second and I'll get the note number. In note 12 to the notes to the financial statements, which is page 28. And one of the things that we kind of came in and happened to notice, and this actually occurs in quite a few school districts that use, we'll say, like School ERP Pro, which is Infinite Visions. A lot of the school districts, what they do at the end of the year is it's a budgetarily geared system. So when you approach the year end, in order for you to be able to pay on certain items that are open payable or open purchase orders at the end of the year, you have to roll the POs. And what that does is it creates an expenditure and a liability. And when we evaluated the beginning of the year balances as part of our required procedures, there were a couple of items that we had saw that had been recorded as payables that, in us further looking at the invoices and discussing with Rachel, identified and said, like, okay, these shouldn't have been represented as prior year payables. So those were proposed audit adjustments to move them out. And then just what I believe is probably a potential difference in interpretation as far as classification of fund type. So I believe it was like 4 years ago, GASB had a new standard, Statement 84 for fiduciary activities. And there's an actual flow chart in that. And underneath the flow chart, there's a portion for, we'll say, like the student activity funds. If there is any sort of administrative control involved by the school, then it's our interpretation of that those should be reported as if they are a governmental fund, not a fiduciary fund type. So we had a restatement for that. I can tell you, as far as other than the year-end payables, where we had determined whether or not they should or shouldn't be, we did not have any other proposed audit adjustments other than things that are to go from your governmental funds to your governmental activities, which is everything on a full accrual basis. So it's all the pension, the OPEB, the debt, and your capital assets. And in the current year, the district expended in excess of $750,000 of federal awards. So what ends up happening there is that triggers us to have to do a federal compliance audit in conjunction with the audit of the district's financial statements. And we're pleased to say that we had no compliance findings and no findings over internal control over compliance related to the federal program that was tested as a major program. One of the things to make you guys aware of, that it's probably not going to affect you for 2025's fiscal year, because I think you'll still be above that $750,000 threshold. But for FY26, the federal government has increased that threshold requiring a single audit to $1 million. And just kind of quickly looking at your schedule of expenditures of federal awards, the district expended just shy of $1.5 million in federal funds. And out of that, 665,000 was the Education Stabilization Fund, which I'm sure you probably all know as ESSER. So with that funding dropping off, there's the potential for the district for FY26 to not be a single audit, which we'd still go through. We still test compliance with the grants that the district has, but it's less of a in-depth compliance audit than we have to do when you're subject to a single audit. So one of the things I told Rachel that I would touch upon is the budget and actual performance, and just kind of gives the school district, the board, the residents of the towns an idea of how does the district actually stand in connection with its approved budget. So for FY24, the district's final approved budget was just shy of 20 million. It was about 19,700,000, including transfers out. And the district actually underexpended its budget by about $1 million, just south of that. And that's approximately 5%. And to kind of give you guys an idea of what we see, in an extreme situation, we've basically seen anywhere close to 8.5% to 9% of budgetary surplus. And at the lowest end, I've seen it down as low as 0.2%. So the more common range is what we see is basically like that 3.5% to 5.5%. So it basically means that where you stand on your budget is more or less in line with most of the districts that we audit in the state. So important for you guys to know that. And obviously with your revenue budgeting, most of the revenues are determined by New Hampshire DRA and DOE. And overall, the district was about 1%, which is about $200,000 over its estimated budget, which a lot of that is coming in through your miscellaneous resources. Everything else is pretty much in line with where we would expect it to be. And it's important to note that you're establishing your estimated revenues about 3 months into your fiscal year. So it's very hard to project out your miscellaneous resources. So for everyone to kind of be aware that that is a common item that we end up seeing. And one of the things that is beneficial of that is that you don't want a shortfall on your estimated revenues, because then if that ends up putting you in a position where you eat into your, the year-end fund balance amount, and possibly even if you're spending real close to your budget, that may run you into a deficit, which we have seen with a couple of school districts in the last 4 or 5 years. Other than that, I mean, we can express gratitude towards the SAU staff being readily available, and actually for everything that Liz had done for us in advance, because I know that she was outgoing on this audit, and she's laid it out right now so that if Rachel follows everything that she has done, from our perspective, it's coming in and we have clean auditable records. We don't have to go through and have to reconcile the school district's grants, having to determine, okay, what are your year-end payables? What are your year-end receivables? The SAU staff does a very good job of, if there's a receivables balance on the books, then there is full backup to substantiate that receivables balance for us. So I can express great gratitude from our end to the SAU staff in having that information available to us. Anybody have any specific questions?
Any comments or questions from the board? Oh, I appreciate the report. It's good news. We're not surprised, but thank you for us novices at reading the report and trying to understand everything. Thank you for the clarifications that you've given us on the highlights. And I want to say congratulations to Liz and the leadership team of the SAU for doing a terrific job.
It's Rachel. This one's Rachel. And Beth Gregory, we do
No,
a
I was actually
yeah,
gonna say.
big thanks to Beth.
The financials all ended before I came on, so I will take no credit for it. It's definitely Elizabeth Gregory, the former VA, who ran a tight ship. Lori Olson in our accounts payable.
Yep.
Who did a fantastic job in her role, and also Irene Woodward, our payroll person. So all the credit goes to them.
Definitely.
Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate that.
And then
All right.
if any of you do have questions about anything in particular, you can either reach out to me directly or you can ask Rachel, and I'll do my best to try to explain it in a manner that, not a super technical manner, but in a manner that you guys will be able to comprehend.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you joining us tonight for the meeting.
All right.
All right. Moving on with the agenda. Superintendent's report.
Good evening again. Starting my report again, I also wanted to thank Steve Spratt for his years of service to the district. As a new superintendent, his guidance was really, really important, both appreciated and welcomed. I also want to congratulate our elected board members. Happy to have you here, and we're excited to work collaboratively on behalf of students. A few pieces of information for you. March is School Board Appreciation Month, so thank you all very much. We appreciate the work that you do. So as far as our process, just again, I know Jeremy's new and everyone's so seasoned, but I want to just explain. So our process here is we start generating the agenda for the board meeting about a week in advance. So the prior Monday, Tuesday, we try to get the agenda set, and then we're trying to make sure that we have all our reports ready, and everything that's going to the board. In a perfect world, it works like that. Unfortunately, sometimes things come up last minute, especially on the personnel report. People might have interviews scheduled later in the week, so there are often adjustments on the personnel report. So what we'll do is we get everything together and then we put it in the board folder, and Jocelyn will be emailing everybody, letting you know the board folder's all set. What we did this time, so that last week you could see all the personnel that was in there, we didn't have everything signed. She put it in there, and then when she updated signed copies, she put that in a separate folder as well. So again, we're trying to be clear without being, we're trying to be transparent here, but understanding that things do come up. Last minute things do come up. We have also shared with you, everyone is part, we're a member of the New Hampshire School Board Association. They have a lot of trainings coming up in April. I would highly encourage board members to sign up for those virtual trainings. They're about hour-long snippets. There's a training that just came across my desk for April as well, but for legislative updates. We are members, we can subscribe to this. So if you have any issues, getting in and logging in, please let us know. We can assist on our end. Jocelyn also put together a folder with different handouts from NHSBA, and I believe that was shared out with everybody. If you want printed copies, we're happy to print for you as well. But I just wanted to make sure that we're all, oh, yeah.
If I could just add, the folders Liz is referring to are digital folders.
Mhm.
Everyone is shared on that shared board drive in Google. You have a district email. So in that district email, you should receive notification of that drive. Mr. Klebs, I just shared that with you this evening. So you should be able to see everything when you have an opportunity to log in. Okay.
And Jocelyn's also we're all happy to help and kind of go through everything. So voting day, positive news for the district. We had our CBA and warrant articles relative to the capital reserves pass. Difficulty is that we our school budget did not pass. So we're still in a default 2 years in a row. That has an impact. So our budget managers have been working together to determine the best ways forward. How do we optimize what we have to do what's best for the kids in our community? In lieu of Kristen's absence, we have a couple different people who are assisting. I sat in, as well as Shayna Berger and Amanda Morin. We sat on for our PAGS audit. I believe Kristen had shared with the board prior that it's a special education audit. There were 8 different components ranging from special ed program presentation to the educational environment analysis to IEP reviews to classroom observation. We had our meeting with our lead consultant on March 10th, and good news, we are compliant with everything. They had some findings that were not surprising to us. Some of this we had already discussed back in October. We have a decrease in proficiency for students with disabilities in reading. We have a reading and math gap in proficiency over time. That's significant from grades 4 to 8. And graduation rate for students with disabilities has declined and the dropout rate has increased. Again, none of these findings were new to us. We have previously looked at this and we did some root cause analysis on these. One of the issues that we run into with the graduation rates and the dropout rate is that our class sizes are so small that you have one student that drops out, we're above the state rate. So again, still a challenge, and some of these things we're working on. We've onboarded some new resources with the CSI grant that we're hoping are going to assist in some of these areas. The audit also has findings relative to IEPs. And so the process is that they pulled a bunch of IEPs and provide feedback on what we did have and did not have. One of the issues was that our educators and service providers are not including their credentials in their reports. So you're not listing, your degrees and your certifications in the reports. That's something that we need to be doing. That's an easy fix. Comparatively, that's an easy fix. The other issue was that they want proof of the services being provided, and so we have a 90 days to prove that we can get these things done and to update these IEPs, and then we'll be all set. They'll pull a few more files, and we will provide this documentation as well. And it's, again, this was a lot of work on behalf of Kristen did a lot of work on this, as well as the special educators and all grade levels. So again, kudos to them for again, a very good report. Power School update. The agency that was I'm hoping that this is the last of the Power School updates that I will have to provide, by the way. The agency that was contracted by Power School immediately after their breach CrowdStrike, it's a cybersecurity company that specializes in cloud-delivered endpoint protection, threat intelligence, and response. Essentially, what they did is they investigated the entire situation, and they found nothing different really from what Power School already put out. That's good. Through our membership with the Education Cooperative Student Data Privacy Alliance, we do have the option to join mass litigation against Power School because of this incident. I, at this point, do not believe that it would be beneficial for us to do that. I don't believe there's going to be a large enough benefit here for us to do that. And the Power School has already done the compulsory credit monitoring, identity theft monitoring that's available for staff and students. We have not had a very loud community response to this either. Again, our social security numbers are not in Power School, so social security numbers are still protected. They still got a lot of information. So again, I'll take the board's direction at this point, but when Michelle and I kind of were talking about it, we didn't necessarily feel that this was a direction that we should go at this time. So other than that, we have a lot of things that we're working on right now. Right now, we're working on optimizing our default budget. That has been a priority over the past week. We are continuing to develop organizational structure. We are onboarding frontline recruiting, which is absolutely wonderful. It's going, the amount, we knew it was going to save us work, but the amount of work that as we learn more about the program and see how it works, the amount of time this is going to save us is really, really going to be fabulous. We're hoping we can have it live starting next week for potential recruiting. So that's really positive. I really want to talk about the NEASC report at our next academic school board meeting. So I have sent that out to board members. So we'll be discussing that. Stacy and I will be discussing that at the next board meeting. Continuing to develop an organizational chart for special education, and we want to make sure that we get the right people into the right seats. And we are looking at revising the current capital improvement plan, and I think Craig is touching on that tonight. I tried to tease this out so we have open positions for the remainder of this year and then open positions for next year. So we, again, they're there. Please take a look at them. We expect over the next couple of weeks and months that list to potentially grow what we know we have available opening up for next year. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Couple follow-ups. I'm going to go in reverse order. So the NEASC report,
Mhm.
I think you've been providing updates along the way, and that's awesome. Are there any focus areas for us to take a look at before the meeting so that we're ready for a discussion and that we know how to either communicate, advocate, support?
So I think what we're going to talk about are the focus areas. So in the
Okay.
report, they actually have focus areas. There's 3 priority areas. Those are the areas that we're going to focus on. You can read the full report. The areas that we're doing great on, woohoo, awesome, thrilled about it. We also really need to focus on what is our plan to demonstrate progress towards those priority areas. So
Okay.
I would focus on those
Yeah.
and just become familiar. It's more or less that when we present this and we
Mhm.
talk about what we're currently doing in our plan moving forward, just so that you have that background of knowing why we're doing this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the focus areas in the report.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
And then 2 more items.
Mhm.
Power School. I tend to agree with no litigation. Generally, it's
Mhm.
cost benefit doesn't really go well. What's the does anybody know what the subscription cost is? Annual subscription for Power School? Just off the top of the
Off the top of my head, I don't.
yeah.
Okay, so Michelle can look
Because
it
I
up.
think that dollar value will probably balance itself out versus joining a legal effort where we would have to contribute to some of that.
We would have to contribute to some of that, and I have seen the bills come across my desk for the other ongoing litigation that we have, and I just don't know if in this situation if it's worth it, considering
Mhm.
that Power School did do the compulsory, they
Right.
did do the things. You know,
Correct.
some of the issues. Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong. Is that there was issues with us notifying that they felt that we should have been notified earlier of the breach.
Yeah, they violated the data privacy agreement that we
Mhm.
have.
Yeah.
That outlines how much, how quickly we're supposed to be notified.
Right.
And they definitely didn't comply with that.
Okay.
So, they talked a lot about, districts that had to put out a lot of costs to deal with that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that we would really fall in that category.
Yeah, that's fair. And
Yeah.
and I professionally am in the world of cyber, and it's just crazy when it happens, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that could slip a little bit.
Mhm.
And I also just want to commend the discretion that the school district has done to keep a lot of our own personal private information
Mhm.
private, like no social security numbers. And so I think that proactive step, I support you not joining litigation because I don't
Thank you.
think, unless are there any compelling evidence, but I just thought I'd share that.
Thanks, Tim.
And then the last piece is the PAGS review. Is there any information on our PAGS review compared to the state? Because the problems that you listed with people with disabilities not graduating, and what are the thoughts on problem solving so that we can continue to provide education for special needs?
Um, so the data that I discussed specifically related to those 3 findings are compared to the state averages. So that's comparative.
Okay.
As far as what we're doing here, again, I think that we are the CSI grant has provided us with opportunities to onboard resources. I have seen these resources in use, and I'm hoping that the resources, in addition to the number of other things that Mr. Saunders is doing this year, the increased communication, the backpacks being sent home, the trainings that staff have had, I'm really hoping to see some of the results of that. Again, at the high school level, when you look at the dropout rates and graduation rate, that's we're working on those. We're working on those things. One of the issues is that we have had concepts of alternative programs for graduation or alternative pathways to graduation, which is an alternative program, but we don't have the funding for it. And when the default budget keeps coming in, it's not a possibility, you know. So we are trying to get better at motivating kids and engaging kids with different work related opportunities. Again, the perfect example is the CTE program. You know, getting kids involved in that, getting them roped in, going to different schools. It's been hugely successful this year. But again, when you have one student drop out,
Mhm.
and that skews our data. So
Yeah.
just again, just to be aware that one student dropping out or one student um, uh, does not graduate, it makes a really big impact for us, and it looks really bad, even though and don't get me wrong, we want all of our students to graduate, and we don't want any students to drop out. But there is a reality that we have to face here.
Thank you.
I have a question. I know that with Kristen being gone, sounds like there's shared responsibilities going on for student services. What do you anticipate the leadership of that to be for the remainder of the year while you're recruiting?
Hard. To be perfectly honest, everyone has taken on a little piece, and in some areas, I think that we had been discussing some shifts in the organizational structure of special education anyway. We had been, and so this is, I think, going to lead into that. My concern, and we're looking at formalizing the job description right now to be able to post soon, is that the quality of candidate that we could get in March. You know, I think I want to be more focused on making sure we get the right candidate. So right now we do have a plan. A couple of staff members are assisting in various ways. We have, for example, Erin Saras, our district social worker, is taking over McKinney-Vento. That is something that I anticipate would continue when we have a director, but she would be overseen by the director. Right now, I'm heavily involved with that. Melissa right now is helping out with our overview of our IEP system, which is our Nessus. She's been going through and providing feedback to principals on where different case managers are as far as compliance issues. So she's providing that feedback. We have two other staff members, Shannon Brennick and Shayna Berger, who are taking on some different roles to try to assist at this time. I think that we're going to be okay, but I think that it's definitely, if we get someone that's good and that's a good fit, then I hope they can start right away. But I think we're more focused on the fit than getting someone in right now. We also had NAJA, which is the New Hampshire Special Education Association, reach out and say if we needed to contract, if we needed assistance, that they were willing to connect us with different people.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right. Move on to the business administrator report. Rachel?
Good evening, everyone. I'll be brief tonight because I know we have a pretty heavy agenda. A little bit of a lull in the business office this time of year, so it gives me a chance to kind of catch up and catch my breath and plan ahead. So that's what we're doing right now. Open enrollment's coming up soon, contract renewal, and those types of things. Special shout out to Kenny Main, who works for Tyler Technologies, which is our financial software company that we use. But he's also a Greenville resident and former board member, and he's come in a couple times to provide us with some free training, which has been absolutely invaluable. So many thanks to him and for Tyler for allowing him to do that as a volunteer. Food service balances, I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse, but we have some good news this month. They are down a little bit, down by a little bit over $2,000. So there's some progress being made there. And of course, we have our fiscal year to date summaries for both expenditures and revenues. Everything looks pretty good on target. I compared these with prior years, and again, we're in good shape. So everything looks pretty solid. We do have a few new accounts that are over budget by $5,000. As you can see in my report, there's some reasoning to those. They're all covered by under expenditures and other lines. So overall, we are still pretty healthy, and I have no concerns. And if there have any questions, I'm happy to entertain them.
Any comments or questions from the board?
Yeah, just one clarification question. So a lot of the warrant articles were contingent on the $700,000 overage. And I think good means that we're going to hit that. Are we projected to be above that $700,000?
That's too early to give an answer.
That's fair, and I appreciate that. Okay.
When I say good, I mean, we're within budget, within target for our revenues.
Okay.
We're healthy.
So operationally, everything is going
Yes.
with no big
Yep.
surprises.
As
Okay.
far as fund balance goes, I'll probably know more in May.
Okay.
To give you more of a solid answer.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, moving along, the Director of Technology, Michelle.
Good evening. The tech department's been very busy. One of the biggest things has been the website updates. All the department pages have been condensed. I've taken probably about 35 pages and taken them down to 8. So as soon as the other remaining pages are finished, we're going to switch the navigation over, and hopefully that'll be by the end of this week. So we'll be able to start looking at that and adding in anything that we missed out on, but it should be much more intuitive at that point. Our enrollment plugin is fully operational now. All of our links on the website for the pre-registration of new students link to our new plugin. We've had a few families actually use it, and it's been going well. Still helping some of the admin in the different buildings navigate through it, but it's been going well. And a lot of the other forms that families need to fill out are active on the parent portal now, so they're able to upload documents and fill out health information and things like that. Staff laptops are continuing to be replaced slowly but surely. So we've ordered 7 new laptops, and we're getting those out to people who desperately need them. The 504 plugin for PowerSchool is almost there. I think we have one more onboarding meeting, and I'm looking forward to that being up and running. It sounds like it's going to be really helpful. The index reporting has been, a lot of people are doing the middle of the year reports, so there's been some hiccups with that. Some of the reports are not pulling the proper data, so we've been working through that, adjusting those as needed, and I think most of them are running properly at this point. Good. Just in time for February vacation, we had a BMS server crash, and it was due to an issue with a Windows update, which is usually the case. But thankfully, it was school vacation week, so we had a whole week to deal with it, and it didn't interrupt any daily operations. So that was great, and we rolled it back, and everything's running smoothly in that area now. Any questions?
Any questions or comments from the board? I have a question. This goes back to information that we received from teachers when the CAST report was being done, the CAST project.
Yes.
And this regarding PowerSchool, and I'm not sure if the question should be directed to you, but.
I'm happy to take any PowerSchool questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
One of the concerns that was expressed was that when there was an issue with the student in the classroom,
Yep.
Particularly a behavioral issue, and information was put into PowerSchool, the teacher did not know, that perhaps this problem had existed all along, and so could not anticipate it or take steps to try to prevent something. Secondly, did not know what actions may have been taken following a behavioral issue in order for them to know what to reinforce or consistency in the classroom. And then teachers talked about from classroom to classroom or teacher to teacher, they didn't know, they weren't able to share information. And so I just was wondering if those concerns were being addressed, or if it was possible to be addressed, or what the barriers might be.
It's a sticky situation. There's privacy issues, and there's issues with teachers having that information and having it form an opinion about a student. So, I mean, you can make arguments both ways.
Mhm.
I'm not really sure
Yep.
If Liz
so
maybe
I
has
can
some
fill
input
in on
into
this.
that.
The other issue, so when you give access to staff, you give different levels of access. You have administrative access, and then you have teacher access. There is there's no in between. So when you give the access, you cannot pick and choose what teachers can and can't do. So what teacher input, right, goes into the disciplinary record that administration has access to. Teachers do not have access to the discipline record as a whole. They could edit, they could delete. So they just have access to putting in what they do, right? So if Tim is naughty, I write Tim was naughty, he gets a detention, he has to stay after school with me, he was blah 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 blah, write that in. And that's for posterity's sake. Jeremy was really, really naughty and he got sent out of my classroom. And so I would put that log in, and administration gets notified when those logs go in. We've discussed as an admin team that administration needs to be better about communicating what happens next in a busy day. Welcome to shadow administrators if you like. It can be a busy day, and sometimes that is where we drop the ball. There's also something to be said from, you said that I couldn't, that you're done. You passed the student, you passed that buck. It is now up to me what happens. And so there's a level there that there's a level that teachers don't get to input into that. As far as access, they cannot have access to that. We've presented different suggestions for staff who are dealing with the same child over and over again. For example, a Google Doc. If there's a shared Google Doc, it allows all the teachers to collaborate and to say, period 1, Ellen was great. Period 2, Ellen is not feeling good. She went and kept her head down. Period 3, I gave 3 bathroom breaks. Period 4, got 5 bathroom. Okay, enough with. So there are options for staff. Staff would love administrative access to PowerSchool. It's not happening. Yeah, it can't happen. It can't happen.
But if I'm understanding correctly, if it rises to the level of the building principal to address, then the principal can share back to the teacher. No, can't share.
They can't share back electronically.
They can share verbally, face
Email,
to face.
absolutely. Through the system,
Okay.
it cannot be. There's no way for us to give that feedback through the system. So typically what would happen, if I ended up suspending a student for something that happened in class or out of class, I would go in, create a log if there wasn't one created. If they already created a log, I would edit the log and note what I did. That does not get sent back to the teacher, nor does the teacher have access to it. So, and I think that was one of the concerns. I forgot what I wrote. What did I write? And again, they can always ask the office. We can always get that for them. But and again, we did identify that communication between building principals and staff could be improved. If you kick a student out of your class, yeah, you want to know what that follow-up is. You're also welcome to ask too.
Sure.
What happened with Mitch when we sent him down. So.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Thank you. Busy as always this past month, cleaning everything we were getting done over the break. Happy to be getting out of heating season. I hope to maybe work a few less hours and sleep a few more now that the weather's turning our way. Want to highlight just a couple of things from my report. New custodian that I hired, Stacy Caswell. He starts his 3rd week this week, and he's so far been fantastic. Very optimistic about him, which I wanted to share with you all. Seems to be a good mentor for my younger custodians, doing a great job and has great ideas already for moving forward for summertime, things that he sees and wants to better. So I'm happy to have him on board. Second thing I'd like to highlight, capital improvement plan that we talked about. We met as a facilities committee, Dr. Pogo, Tim, and myself. I thought we had pretty good discussion about kind of a state of the union of facilities of where we're at right now. not super great place. I'm in the process, like I said, so getting together, prioritizing, using our asset inventory that we got last year, hands-on. It's kind of a long process. And in the trending of what I've been coming to you all with, asking for money every single month. So looking at all those things so that we can put together a better list, 5 years of what the expectations, what I think they'll be, and what the priorities are to keep us afloat, really, so we don't fall any further behind. And any questions, I'm happy to entertain them.
Any comments or questions from the board? None? Thank you very much, Craig.
Thank you.
Finished business. Dr. Porgaszewski, program of study update.
Yep. So, Ms. Mahakian had identified last time that she was still waiting for her Spanish, the updates to the Spanish courses. These were the two courses that you have in front of you that she had recommended: Hispanic Studies and the World Through Film. Again, I think that the teacher is very invested. He's excited about these, passionate about these, and they're both 0.5 credits. So this all looks good from our end. So this is more of a FYI, and I could use approval on this.
Can I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion to approve the updated program of studies.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Approved. Moving on to
I'm just asking the board to approve renewing our contract with Life Touch for photography services for next year. I did solicit feedback from the schools and the principals just to see what, families are saying to them. Overall, it was positive. I think, doing it the same vendor would streamline a lot of things and make life easier for the schools and for the business office. So I'm recommending that we continue with them. The pricing also, I looked into some other companies. It's on par with other companies. I think it's still somewhat affordable for families. It's under $20 for the entry-level package. So overall, I think it's a good option for us, and I do recommend that we continue with them for 1 more year.
Can I have a motion to approve the photography contract?
I'll make a motion to approve the photography contract.
May I have a second?
And I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Abstentions? Approved. Thank you, Rachel. Next, MS 22, Rachel.
So the MS-22 is just a standard.
That you're asking for approval, so exactly what are we approving? Just the use of this?
It's not really an action. I don't need a motion. I just need signatures
Okay.
since the board already.
Moving forward, Dr. Porgaszewski, the school board and ABC budget feedback.
So I had put out a survey to board members and to members of the ABC, and we had 3 people from each group provide input regarding the experience. I asked what went well, what areas could we grow. Positive feedback, everyone seemed to really appreciate the budget manager involvement, involving them at the table, working with their budget buddies, hearing the voice in both the presentation and hearing how it's presented to the board. Transparency on behalf of the ABC and the SAU, again, being open about what we're doing, how we're doing it. Communication to stakeholders was positive feedback, again, including the pieces to the community, the explanation of budget planning and the pieces that we've been including in the newsletter. Budget orientation was received very positively as from ABC members that was important, and appreciated the streamlined communication. Some areas of growth was how to make the communication that how do we communicate better with our community? How do we get deeper into the community, and how do we relay that information to relevant stakeholders? Areas of growth are to begin the budget discussions earlier with the school board, involve them earlier, direction. Again, I think that's absolutely necessary. Begin onboarding of the ABC members and budget planning. Again, move it as early as possible. And another area of growth was post documents in a more user-friendly way. We're going to take another look at the timeline. We took a look at the timeline at the beginning, I think it was July. We took a look at the timeline for budget planning, and we're going to take another look at it again. The reality is that, again, Rachel and I, this is still our first go around. Rachel's going to have to be working on reporting this year that Beth Gregory had previously done. We've talked with building principals. We've talked with other budget managers about how far in advance could we actually back this up. There was concerns with special ed at the time about they really can't predict what's going to happen with their budget until they see the kids that show up August 28th. Right? You know who left, in June, but what is the impact? There's a lot of movement over the summer months, so that was one of the questions. Craig had also brought up some concerns about, he didn't know how much he could do over the summer. Summer's one of, again, you have winter and summer are Craig's two busiest seasons. So that's, again, something to consider. Principals had talked about preparing their budgets ahead of time, and so going into the school year, they would be done. Again, I think onboarding the ABC earlier, soliciting input, I think all of that can happen. So we'll probably begin discussions sometime in May regarding where we're going, maybe presenting a new timeline. So.
Any comments or questions from the board? I'd like to just kind of echo what Dr. Pogo is saying. Having been on the ABC in the past for a couple of years, and given the challenges of having a new business manager, having a new superintendent and so forth, and yet going straight forward with changing the timeline and the process, I thought it was an excellent first year in the revisions that you made. And I appreciate your seeking feedback from others in terms of how they felt about it. And I look forward to any tweaking that will go forward. Thank you.
So we have a donation of a truck, a 2013 GMC Sierra 1550 to the facilities department. The donation is valued at $10,517. I'd like board approval to accept this donation.
Do I have a motion to accept the donation?
I'll make a motion to accept the donation.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Approved.
You happen to know the people, if you could thank them for us.
I will.
All right, administrative professional development leave request. Dr. Pogo?
Yep, sorry. I got a lot of documents here today.
Nice.
Okay, so again, you have all the documents. This is for a PD for one of our admin staff. This is helping keep the license certifications updated. So,
Can I have a motion to accept the leave request?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Abstentions? All right, the motion has been approved. Craig, capital reserve fund request.
Hello again. I have two. I don't know if there's any one particular, are they both at once? All right. I'll do my best. I think I used this joke before, but I feel like Oliver Twist up here every month. That's my bowl. Please, sir, may I have some more? So over vacation week, we had our biannual service of our water filtration systems up at the pump house. And this go around, it was found that the part of the system, the water softener for Highbridge Hill, had reached its end of life. So I'm looking for some capital reserve funds to replace that. I had attached the estimate from a vendor, and in the amount of $4,195, and I'm hoping to get that approved so that we could soften that water that's headed over. And the second one, a little backstory for this, Boynton Middle School had some no heat in the gym. We've been struggling with that. It's been a rough winter. Our vendor was in there and found the thermostat actually to be bad in there. And when looking to find replacement, they are obsolete, no longer available. The system is that old. Took one from the boiler room just to get the gym heat working, and then discovered that all these names will probably mean nothing to you. Our Jace, it's called a Jace. It's the network controller for our heating systems. Has also quit and is obsolete. It's such an old system. So again, looking to use our vendor also as a single source provider, because to get two more prices on this and get a whole new system, we'd have to redo our entire building automation systems for all schools. Would be a much larger number than the 15,000 and change that I'm looking for to get this taken care of. Right now, I have no way to control the heating system at Boynton, so they're opening windows, closing windows, because we're set at what we're set at right now over there. So,
All right. Let's deal with these one at a time in terms of approval. Can I have a motion to approve the capital fund expenditure for the water filtration system?
I'll make a motion to approve their request for the
oh, Walter.
for Walter.
Yeah.
For the water filtration system.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? All right, approved. May I have a motion to approve the network controller for the HVAC system?
Make a motion to approve capital reserve fund to replace and repair the HVAC system.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Craig, you have two approvals.
Thank you all very much.
Yep. So, again, I appreciate Rachel's poking me on this. I forgot this had to go to the school board, didn't realize. So thank you, Rachel. We have a staff member who is taking an undergraduate course. I'm not sure, Rachel, maybe you know about why that was put into the CBA, but they need school board approval to take an undergraduate course. Do you know?
I imagine just progression of career development.
Sure.
I would imagine this is related to certification, correct?
The-
That's why this individual is taking.
This situation, this teacher is pursuing on expanding her certification list. It would be in line with what I would typically approve. Again, I think what we don't want is to see someone getting a degree in accounting and then we're paying for it and then they're leaving to go be an accountant. I do not foresee this happening here. My understanding, this could be a huge benefit to the district.
May I have a motion to approve the staff course request for the undergraduate class?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any opposed or abstentions? Approved. Do we have any policies tonight?
No, we do not.
No. Personnel?
So you have a big personnel slate in front of you. We do have some. Most of them are coaching positions for the spring. We do have three resignations right now on the table, and 2 transfers. These 2 transfers in the building, just to note, number 2 on transfers is due to a new student coming into the district. So that is something that we're going to have to work out payment for in a different way. The number 1 is just filling an opening that we had at the high school due to somebody resigning. But I'm happy to answer questions.
Any questions or comments from the board? Final public comments. We have no comments.
Can we approve the?
Oh,
We need to
approval
approve. Yep,
for
I
that?
need to approve that. Sorry. Yep.
Give him an opportunity to do that. We can't talk about the names, we have numbers.
May I have a motion to approve personnel actions?
I'll make a motion to approve the personnel actions.
May I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, approved. All right, at this point, I believe we have to go into non-public session under RSA 91-A:3, 2, in parentheses, A through C, and my understanding is this is a matter of reputation.
That's correct.
So at this point, we will take a break for about 5 minutes, and then we will hold. our-
We need a motion to go into non-public.
We need a motion. Okay.
Yep.
A roll call motion, right?
Yep.
Yes, it is roll call. Motion to approve, roll call. Tim?
Yes. Oh, no, I make a motion
You
to,
make a
go-
motion, it gets approved, and then for voting, it's.
yeah,
a roll
so,
call.
Okay,
well, so moved.
make the motion.
So moved.
Okay, may I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right. Let's have a roll call vote. Tim?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, approved. We will take a 5-minute break and then reconvene for the non-public.
Thank you.
Do you want me to take notes for non-public?
That'd be great. Thank you.